12-story apartment complex flattened by missiles fired from Israeli warplanes. Hours before, Hamas militants staged an unprecedented, coordinated attack. From the air, at sea and on land. Crossing into Israel, breaking through the Gaza border using whatever they could. Overwhelming Israeli forces, setting fire to tanks, pulling out the troops inside and riding off with them towards Gaza, prisoners of a new war. Hamas raiding parties, shooting citizens in the street. Videos posted online showing Hamas seizing whoever they could and taking them hostage. A mother and her 2 children abducted. The capture posted on an Arabic social media feed. One man recognized his wife and daughters in another video.
I tracked her mobile phone and I saw that the location is in Gaza Street.
Here, Hamas fighters hold a bloodied young woman into their jeep. This elderly captive carted across the border. Many were kidnapped from this desert party as gunmen rolled in, attendees running for their lives, ducking behind cars as gunfire rings out. University student Noah Agamani and her boyfriend pulled onto motorbikes. "Don't kill me," she screams. Israeli fighter jets retaliated, picking off Hamas targets crossing the border. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declaring, "We are at war and we will win." Saying Hamas would pay a price the type of which it has never known. All over Israel, troops are being mobilized, tens of thousands of reservists are being called in, fighter jets loaded with attack missiles to exact revenge. Gun battles in border towns, police taking back homes that militants raided in the early hours, trapping terrified families inside. The Hamas attack had started at dawn, with rockets soaring into the skies over Israel. Israel says 2,500 were launched. Hamas claims it was double that. Hitting streets and apartment blocks, using drones to attack military targets. There was panic at Tel Aviv airport as sirens warned travellers to seek shelter. A CNN crew hitting the tarmac as rockets were fired.
We literally just got off the plane here at Ben Gurion Airport. The sirens have gone off, people are taking cover, we got off the bus, people are taking cover, and you can hear the intercept missiles banging in the air.
One of the most fortified sections of the Gaza Israel border, the Erez crossing, was overwhelmed as Hamas operatives filmed themselves shooting and taking control. Israeli army vehicles captured and taken back into Gaza as trophies of war. In Israel, so many injured, troop carriers doubled as ambulances. Australians among those who rushed to air raid shelters.
There were people who had young children, babies, little kids, elderly people. We were petrified. You know, living in Australia, we don't have exposure to this sort of thing.
Expats Haley and Zohar Alpern live between the Gaza Strip and Israel.
I woke up at 6 a.m. this morning to breastfeed our newborn baby and also to the sounds of sirens.
In the Palestinian refugee camp of Jenin in the West Bank, celebrations at what Hamas had achieved so quickly. Huge crowds turned out in some Arab communities in Yemen, Turkey and Iraq to support Hamas. Chants of death to Israel heard through Iranian parliament. The volleys from both sides continuing into the night. There are concerns Israeli troops could re-enter the Gaza Strip, the government putting out warnings to residents of the Strip to evacuate key areas.
I fear that thousands of Palestinians will die in the next week or so. So the potential for escalation is very high.
As the world condemned the Hamas incursion.
The United States stands with Israel. We will not ever fail to have their back.
The UK completely condemns these terrorist acts against Israel. We support Israel's right to self-defense. This is an abhorrent attack on Israel. This is indiscriminate. Civilians being targeted, killed and murdered.
Palestinians with their own message, loudspeakers from mosques across Jerusalem, calling on Muslims to rise up and wage a holy war against Israel. At the Israeli border, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
And Europe correspondent Edward Godfrey joins us now from the Israeli border in Jordan. Edward, there's confusion where you are.
There is so much confusion, Georgie. Just in the last 10 minutes, we've been told that the borders are remaining closed. The crossing where it was supposed to open about 2 hours ago, 8 o'clock this morning local time, but no one's gone through yet. There are hundreds of people stuck, many people just trying to get home, and it's quite tense there. The police have actually just pushed us back from that crossing, telling us we can't film anywhere near there. Things are quite tense. We know that the fierce battle continues, that the power's been cut off to around 2 million residents in Gaza. And as of a little while ago, there are reports of shooting in southern Lebanon towards Israel. That is just adding to the confusion. As for Australians, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said no Australians have been harmed so far in the attacks, but Georgie, he also conceded that it's far too early to have an accurate assessment.
Very tense situation, Edward Godfrey, thank you. Let's go now to our US correspondent, Jonathan Kersley, who tonight is in Washington, D.C.
Tonight there are key questions about why US and Israeli intelligence didn't pick up warnings on what was clearly a planned and coordinated attack by Hamas, raising concerns about possible technological blind spots and what may have been missed. Still, US President Joe Biden says his support for Israel is unwavering, and tonight world landmarks have been lit up in a symbolic show of support. Another wartime leader, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, has added his voice to the chorus of world leaders, insisting Israel has a right to defend itself, and says the world needs to stand united. Tomorrow, the United Nations Security Council will hold emergency talks, and the US could announce military assistance and aid to Israel. Officials here warning the conflict could last weeks.
The astonishing Hamas assault comes after decades of relentless and bitter conflict with Israel, the fighting costing thousands of lives and forcing generations to grow up under occupation. The militant group claims this assault is payback for Israeli atrocities against Palestinians, including what it calls the desecration of a holy mosque in East Jerusalem and a 16-year blockade of Gaza.
Gaza, a tiny area only 40 kilometres long and 11 kilometres wide, and one of the most contested pieces of land in history. Held by the Ottoman Empire until 1917, when it was put under British control. After the Second World War, thousands of Jews fled Europe in the wake of the Holocaust, and the United Nations split Palestinian territory into Arab and Jewish states in 1947. Leader David Ben-Gurion founded the State of Israel in 1948, and from that moment it was under assault from its Arab neighbours. Egypt attacked Israel through the Gaza Strip, and while Israel won the war, Gaza remained under the control of Egypt, and Palestinian refugees poured in. Numerous insurgencies and the Six-Day War followed, Israel making territorial conquests, including Gaza and the Sinai Desert from Egypt, and the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan. But in 1973, a huge blow to its security forces. It is an all-out war, the Yom Kippur War, an invasion by Egypt and Syria that Israel's military did not see coming. While ceasefires were agreed with Arab neighbours, tensions remained. The seeds of the current conflict were sown after Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005, and militant group Hamas seized control. Hamas, listed as a terrorist group by countries including Australia, started the campaign to destroy the Israeli state. Israel responded with an invasion in 2008, in which an estimated 1,000 people were killed.
It invaded again in 2014, which saw 2,200 killed in Gaza, along with 73 Israelis. A flashpoint throughout has been the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, Islam's third holiest site, built on Judaism's holiest, the Temple Mount. Recent visits by hard-right members of Israel's government inflaming tensions. It's one of the reasons Hamas gave for yesterday's shocking assault, which came almost 50 years to the day since the Yom Kippur War, another intelligence failure that caught Israel's famed security apparatus off guard.